Okay. Bandeham Shiguro Shiyatha Parakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavam Sya Shirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Rakanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shirada Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Sya Om Agyana Timaranda Shah Girajana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasma Shigurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Guraganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shirupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavad Premnavi Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishvara Sridharam Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're continuing with our reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the hidden treasure of the sweet absolute, with translation and commentary by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj. And this is chapter 18, which is entitled Moksha-yoga, the path of liberation. And last time I read from the final verses of the Gita from 67 to 78, but there was some technical difficulties with the with my connection. So let's see. So today I'll repeat those verses from text number 67. Idam te nata pashkaya na bhaktaya karachana na Shashushuvra na chashrave vacham na chamam cho vyasuyati idam te nata pashkaya na bhaktaya karachana na chashush rushave vacham na chamam yo vyasuyati. You should never disclose this hidden treasure to one devoid of self-sacrifice, to the non-devotee, to the faithless, to one who is adverse to my service, or to one who is resentful towards me. You should never disclose this hidden treasure to one devoid of self-sacrifice, to the non-devotee, to the faithless, to one who is adverse to my service, or to one who is resentful toward me. So our whole process of devotional service and advancement in our relationship with the Lord. Jiva Swarupoi Krishna Nityadas. We are the eternal servants of the Lord. So everything is actually based on faith. Shraddha. Shraddha means faith, and one has to be faithful to the Lord. Then one can actually engage in service to the Lord. But without faith, without any sense of sacrifice, then nothing will be accomplished. So, just like there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Dharmastanustita pumsham vishvaksena katasuya not parayed yadiratim shrama eva ikevalam. dharma svanustita pumsam vishvaksena katasuyaha notparayed yadi ratim shama eva kevalam. That whatever class of dharma you're engaged in, if it doesn't lead to an attachment for the lotus feet of the Lord and for the service of the Lord, then it's just a waste of time. And therefore, earlier in this chapter, Krishna advised Arjuna, Sarvadharmam parityaja mamikam sharanam vraja ham tuam sarvapapebhyo moksha-yoga ma shucha. That you can give up all these external considerations of what is your duty, of what is your dharma, of what is your religion, because one ultimately, true religion is Sanatan Dharma, and it means to engage in the eternal service of the Lord. So any other conception, just like it's commented that without service to the Lord, without faith in the Lord, without attachment to the Lord, then even so-called religious practices or religious processes, they're actually pop, they're actually sin. In the sense of, even if something that's recommended by the Vedas, if it doesn't really increase one's attachment and entrance into one's eternal relationship with the Lord, then in one sense we can say that it's actually just like pop. It's just like pop means sin. So, ya imam paramam guyam madbhaktesh vabidhasyati bhakti mayi param kritva mam evais yati asamshaya. Ya imam paramam guyam madbhaktesh vabidhasyati bhakti mayi param kritva mam evais yati asamshaya. One who reveals the glories of this supreme secret to my devotees will attain transcendental devotion for me and reach me without a doubt. One who reveals the glories of this supreme secret to my devotees will attain transcendental devotion for me and reach me without a doubt. Now here one can question that we're preaching on a you could say a grand scale. Sometimes we're preaching to large audiences, and somebody can say, well, not everyone in the audience is faithful. But we might entertain the idea that still people are coming in contact with the message of the Lord, so they must have some sukriti. But previously, in the previous verse, it was said that one should not preach to the faithless. But when Krishnadas Kaviraj is speaking the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, when he's talking about subjects which are meant only for the devotees and which should not be heard by non-devotees, Krishnadas says, well, these subjects should not be spoken. They should not be spoken aloud. But then, on the other hand, those who are not devotees, they won't understand. They won't understand what is being spoken. So he says, what could be better than this? Because he's speaking to a large audience. Certainly there are many readers of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Krishnadas knows that not all of them are qualified, nor are they devotees. But he said the ass-like, or I don't know if he says ass-like or camel-like devotees, but camel-like or ass-like non-devotees, but you get the idea. Then he says, they won't understand anyway, so what could be sweeter than that? So in the same way, we are trying to reach many persons, and we have one of the qualities of those engaged in the level of madhyamadikari, or middle-class devotee. Even it is said, the spiritual master comes down to the madhyam category to preach So when one is preaching, it is said that one worships the Lord, befriends the devotees, preaches to the innocent, and avoids the association of those who are demons or inimical to the service of the Lord. So as far as preaching, we're saying that the Madhyamadikari is preaching to the innocent, and he's trying to reach persons. So that will be our aim also. We are trying to reach people, and we are assuming that many of the persons haven't yet come in contact with the Lord's message, and therefore we'll consider that they're innocent, and we want to reach them. So this is also consideration. And here it says, one who reveals the glories of this supreme secret to my devotees will attain transcendental devotion for me and reach me without a doubt. So that is of course, we're always happy to be in the association of devotees, and devotees have this quality that they always enlighten each other, hearing the messages of the Lord. Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya kritama bhavita nacha me tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya kritama bhavita nacha me tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. In the entire human society, there is no one who pleases me by his actions more than he who preaches the glories of the Bhagavad Gita, nor will there ever be anyone in the world dearer to me than he. In the entire human society, there is no one who pleases me by his actions more than he who preaches the glories of the Bhagavad Gita, nor will there ever be anyone in the world dearer to me than he. So this is referring also to the previous verse, one who reveals the glories of the supreme secret to my devotees will attain transcendental devotion for me and reach me without a doubt. In the entire human society, there is no one who pleases me by his actions more than he, nor will there ever be anyone in the world dearer to me than he. So it's this Bhagavad Gita is very wonderful conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, which can be transmitted to others. And you will find, although the Bhagavad Gita seems very direct and very much, as the name implies, a song of God, a song between the Lord and his devotee, then if it's understood in that way, Bhagavad Gita can be understood very clearly. But there are so many misled commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita. And why? Because they're commentaries made by persons who are not devotees nor do they have any feel for devotional service. But the Bhagavad Gita contains information about the nature of the soul, the engagement of the soul in the service of the Lord, and how one can overcome all obstacles by engaging in the service of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita gives so much very pertinent information that everybody will need for their progressive development. And therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is greater than any scriptures in any other religions, because they all give some kind of hazy conception. But the Bhagavad Gita very clearly explains who is Krishna, who's the individual soul, who we are, in other words, and how we can relate to the Lord, how we can overcome obstacles. All these are answered within the Bhagavad Gita. Adyeshate cha ya imam dharmyam samvadam avayo yana yagena tenaham ishtashyam iti me mati. And one who studies with devotion this holy conversation of ours will worship me by the knowledge sacrifice. This is my conclusion. And one who worships me with devotion, one who studies with devotion this holy conversation of ours, will worship me by the knowledge sacrifice. This is my conclusion. So, by this development of knowledge, one becomes so much benefited. Somebody could say, well, there's a verse by Srila Rupa Goswami that says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukuyena Krishna nushilanam bhakti arutama. That real bhakti is free from any extraneous endeavors for knowledge. Then somebody can say, well, Rupa Goswami is saying that one should not fall into the trap of endeavoring for karma, for some material advantage, or one should not engage in just simply acquiring gyan or theoretical knowledge. Anukuyena Krishna nushilanam anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukuyena Krishna nushilanam bhakti arutama. That rather one should engage in that devotional service which is favorable to Krishna. So then here's the question where it's mentioned, and one who studies with devotion this holy conversation of ours will worship me by the knowledge sacrifice. This is my conclusion. So how we can understand that? Well, in the Srimad Bhagavatam it says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojata Jnana Yasha Vairagam Jnanam Chayada Haitukim. That actually by the progressive by engaging in devotional service, one will acquire the knowledge which is here in the Bhagavad Gita. One will hear the Bhagavad Gita, one will relish this Bhagavad Gita. And this is not extraneous to devotional service, but rather as a part of devotional service. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj commented that when he was in the service of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, we were not encouraged to just simply read many books, but if we just read books on our own, that could be gyan or it could be karma. But Srila Guru Maharaj said, but if one is asked to read a book, then that is bhakti. And here, both the Lord, Sri Krishna, and our spiritual guardians, they're telling us that we can benefit so much by acquiring this knowledge which is in Bhagavad Gita, and that we should be reading Bhagavad Gita as a daily activity. Shravan anasuyascha shrinuyad apiyo nara sopi mukta subhalokan prapnuyat punya karmanam. Simply by hearing this with an open heart, a faithful person is liberated and attains to the auspicious abodes of the virtuous souls. Simply by hearing this with an open heart, a faithful person is liberated and attains to the auspicious abodes of the virtuous souls. And this is coming down to us. This is the conversation of Arjuna speaking with Krishna. And Sanjaya, he's informing Dhritarashtra, but in the process we are also hearing. It is said that Bhagavad Gita, the process is that we are able to benefit by hearing this conversation. And it is like, I heard one example given that in an Indian household, the wife, she moves into the household of her husband, which there may be other persons of his family there, his father, etc. So sometimes because the father and mother are living in the household and the wife of the son is new to the household, there are things that that the mother wants to transmit to her daughter-in-law. But she doesn't try to do so in an intrusive way because still the relationship is just developing. So what the mother of the groom will do, she will try to instruct her daughter in the presence of her daughter-in-law. She doesn't want to say something directly to her daughter-in-law because her daughter-in-law may not be able to digest what she wants to communicate. So she explains things in a thoughtful way to her own daughter in the presence of her daughter-in-law so that her daughter-in-law can hear the conversation. And there's been an analogy has been given that the Bhagavad Gita is spoken between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna is the eternal devotee of the Lord. He already knows the subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita, and although he's placed temporarily in illusion, we could say within a short time the whole conversation flows, and by the end Arjuna understands everything. It doesn't have to be explained repeatedly. He already knows this. But we are the ones that are benefited by hearing this conversation, just as the daughter-in-law is benefited by hearing her mother-in-law explain things to her own daughter, to the mother-in-law's daughter. So it's like that. We're hearing this conversation and we're benefited. Kachid etach shutam parta tvayikagrina chetasa kachid agyana samoha pranashtaste dhananjaya. O Partha, have you listened to this with your undivided attention? O Dhananjaya, are you now free from the darkness of your delusion? So, as I said, Arjuna is temporarily placed into delusion. And in the very beginning, he says to Krishna, I'm a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So he places himself, although he's the eternal friend of Krishna, he places himself in the position of a disciple. I'm surrendered to your lotus feet. You please explain to me. Then very quickly, Krishna explains in the course of this 18 chapters, but each chapter goes very smoothly, and Arjuna hears, and then Krishna says, O Partha, have you listened to this with your undivided attention? O Dhananjaya, are you now free from the darkness of your delusion? And Arjuna vacha nashto moha smritir labda tvat prasadan mayachuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. Arjuna said, O infallible one, by your grace, my delusion is now gone. I can now remember who I am. My doubts are destroyed, and I am firm in my resolve. I shall follow your instructions. Oh. So this is the result of Arjuna's hearing. O infallible one, by your grace my delusion is now gone. I can now remember who I am. My doubts are destroyed, and I am firm in my resolve. I shall follow your instructions. So now Arjuna understands he is surrendered to Krishna, and now he will execute the request of Krishna, what Krishna is instructing. Sanjaya vacha iti aham vasudevasya partasya cha mahatmana samvadam imam ashrosham adbhutam romaharshanam. Sanjaya said, thus I have heard this wondrous conversation of the Supreme Soul Vasudeva and the son of Prita, Arjuna, which arouses ecstasy in the hearts of all. So Sanjaya, he's relating all this to Dhritarashtra, who's has of course very vested interest. He has his sons, they're battling against the Pandavas. And he wants to know what's going on in the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And Sanjaya, he's disciple of Vedavyas. And he can transmit by his potency. He can hear the conversation, although they are far away, and he can transmit to Dhritarashtra what is being spoken by Krishna to Arjuna. Sanjaya said, thus I heard this wondrous conversation of the Supreme Soul Vasudeva and the son of Prita, Arjuna, which arouses ecstasy in the hearts of all. Vyasa prasadach shrutavan imam guyam ahambaram yogam yogeshwarat krishnat sakshad katayata swayam. By the mercy of Sri Vyasadeva, I heard the supreme secret teaching of yoga sung directly by the Supreme Lord of Yoga, Lord Sri Krishna himself. And he's telling very frankly to Dhritarashtra that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and Krishna is beautifully speaking to Arjuna, and this is giving illumination to Arjuna, and this is the real substance, and what is that. Of course, Dhritarashtra has 100 sons who are trying to fight against the Pandavas, but they have no chance. And still, Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra, this is the most wonderful knowledge that will be a benefit to you and everyone of this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. By the mercy of Sri Vyasadeva, I heard the supreme secret teaching of yoga sung directly by the Supreme Lord of Yoga, Lord Sri Krishna himself. Rajan samsmritya samvadam imam adbhutam keshavarjunayo punyam rishyami cha muhurmuhu. O king, ever remembering this miraculous, sacred conversation of Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna, my heart thrills over and over again. And Sanjaya telling, this is interesting because Dhritarashtra, it has been remarked, he's blind. He's blind and he's also spiritually blind. And yet, and he wants to know what's going on in this conversation of Krishna and Arjuna, because Arjuna is going to be, Krishna is going to be driving the chariot of Arjuna. And Krishna has said that his whole army from the Yadu dynasty, they're not going to fight in the battle. They're not going to take the side of Arjuna, but rather Krishna said that they could have, that Arjuna could have Krishna's army or Krishna, and Arjuna was happy to take Krishna as his chariot driver to be with Krishna. And I believe it's that Krishna's army took the other side, isn't it? Like that? Duryodhana thought he could benefit this way by the army of Krishna. But in any event, Krishna said he said he wouldn't pick up any weapon. So then the Kurus thought that they were going to be very successful. But here, the important thing is that Sanjaya says to Dhritarashtra, "O king, ever remembering this miraculous, sacred conversation of Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna, my heart thrills over and over again." He's hearing this conversation and remembering it over and over again. And Sanjaya is ecstatic. And this is the Battle of Kurukshetra is really just the background in which the Bhagavad Gita is spoken. This is the real substance of Bhagavad Gita. And some persons listen to the Mahabharata. What is it? And that Mahabharata is very wondrous, very, very exciting to hear. But Bhagavad Gita is the real substance. Bhagavad Gita has all the information which is contained in the Upanishads, and therefore it's called the Gita Upanishad. And so many persons have studied Bhagavad Gita. But as Srila Prabhupada used to say, there's so many millions of commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, but only those who are devotees of the Lord can understand this conversation. And Tatscha samsmritya samsmritya rupam adyadbhutam hare vishmayo me mahan rajam rishyami cha puna puna. By remembering, O king, I marvel, and remembering, O king, I marvel at that astonishing, almighty, universal form of the Supreme Lord Hari, and my whole being thrills with ecstasy. And remembering, O king, I marvel at that astonishing, almighty, universal form of the Supreme Lord Hari, and my whole being thrills with ecstasy. So the universal form is the Virata Rupa. And seeing that universal form, one could understand what was going to happen in the battle, because Arjuna could perceive in that universal form all the opposing soldiers and also his own soldiers entering into the mouth of the universal form and being chewed in the teeth of that universal form. So some persons think that this universal form is, Krishna says he's allowing Arjuna to see this, and he says he gives him divya chakshu. He gives him divine eyes to see this. But actually that universal form, as majestic as it is, it's actually material, because it's maybe mystical and it may show the future, but it's still pertaining to this material world. More wondrous is the divine form of Krishna. That is so much greater that Krishna will show his universal form, then shows his form as Vishnu, then shows his form as Krishna. And he says, this is the form that is so dear and is desired to be seen by the devotees. So now I'll read the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Where there is Yogeshvara Krishna and where there is Arjuna, the winner of wealth with bow in hand, there prevails fortune, victory, prosperity, and virtue. This is my opinion. So this is the final verse of Bhagavad Gita. And this, we can say, is being spoken directly to Dhritarashtra by Sanjaya. Where there is Yogeshvara Krishna and where there is Arjuna, the winner of wealth, with bow in hand, there prevails fortune, victory, prosperity, and virtue. This is my opinion. And this conclusion of the victory always of the Lord and his devotee, and it says there, and where there is Arjuna, the winner of wealth with bow in hand. He's called Dhananjaya, the winner of wealth with bow in hand. Dhananjaya means that. There prevails fortune, victory, prosperity, and virtue. This is my opinion. So from the very beginning, the outcome was known, because when all the persons who were fighting with Duryodhana, when they were all gathered, they tried to please Duryodhana by blowing very, very loudly their conch shells. But when the Pandavas blew their conch shells, then it says, the sound of the conch shells pierced and shattered the hearts of the opposing side of the Kurus. I mean, they could hear just by the announcement of the conch shells that they were not going to be victorious. But still, so many subjects relating to our relationship with the Lord and the service of the Lord, and repeatedly Arjuna is able to overcome all his questions and problems. He doesn't want to kill his family members. He doesn't want to fight against those who are very dear to him, friends and family members. And even he says, what good will come from killing our family members if the spoils of war will be tainted with blood of those who are dear to us? But Krishna informs Arjuna that it's not a question of enjoying the results of the battle. It's a question of fulfilling one's relationship with the Lord and doing what is sought by the Lord. Now, the Lord is not, many people think that the Lord is always favoring their side in some battle, in some game, some sporting event. But it's not like that. We heard one story that there's a thief, and he's looking in the darkness of night at a house of a rich man on top of a hill, and it's a dark night, and the thief is praying to the Lord, my dear Lord, please protect me, give me your help so I can rob that house of the rich man. And the rich man is looking out into the darkness from up on the hill, and he's thinking, oh, this is a very troubling night. This is a night which can favor thieves. So I'm praying to you, my Lord, please protect me on this night. So what can the Lord do? He's being asked by the thief to give him success, and the rich man is asking for the Lord to give him protection. But that's not really the business of the Lord. Everyone is always seeking some material result, but that's the business of the Lord, is not to satisfy one side or another, but rather the Lord here is instructing his devotee, and he is asking his devotee to engage in his service. So Arjuna is a warrior. His service is to serve the Lord, but they are eternally related. So Bhagavad Gita is not a book of warfare or anything like that. The whole subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is how one can overcome all obstacles in serving the Lord. And we've heard the commentary, it is said, the lesson of Bhagavad Gita is not that so much that you can change the environment, but that the environment comes to change you. Then I heard that remark given by Guru Maharaj. Not that you, the idea is not that you will change the environment, but that the environment will come to change you. So this confrontation which Arjuna finds that he has to fight in this war, and he is so unwilling to do so, but rather that difficulty comes to actually change Arjuna, and he is able to achieve that by the instruction of Krishna. So, iti Shri Mahabharate Shata Sahasriyam Samhitayam Vayasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Moksha-yoga Namastadasho Dhyaya. End of chapter 18, the path of liberation from the conversation of Sri Krishna and Arjuna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishad, the yoga scripture of transcendental knowledge in Bhishma Parva of Sri Mahabharata, the holy scripture revealed by Srila Vyasadeva in 100,000 verses. So we're finishing here this Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita is translated by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj. He gives the Sanskrit and the commentary. And from the Sanskrit and Bengali is being translated into English by Swarupananda, who was formerly Bhaktiananda Sagar. So he translated this Bhagavad Gita, the original, from Sanskrit and Bengali. Okay.
El Bhagavad Gita, los 18 capítulos que Prabhupada pone en el Bhagavad Gita. Ese es todo el Bhagavad Gita, ¿cierto?
Pardon me?
El Bhagavad Gita, el libro de Prabhupada, 18 capítulos, ese es completo.
El Bhagavad Gita de Prabhupada es completo? Sí.
Porque ahora que estaba dando un darshan, una devota de Canadá me dice que hay por ahí un grupo de personas que dicen que no, que el Bhagavad Gita es mucho más grande, que tiene muchos más capítulos.
Bhagavad Gita is 18 chapters. And everybody has some special, Maharaj is saying there are people that say that he's asking if these Bhagavad Gita is complete. And there are persons who are saying there are more chapters than the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And there's always somebody who knows more than the devotees, supposedly. We know Bhagavad Gita by hearing it from our divine spiritual masters, from our guardians, from the acharyas. The Bhagavad Gita actually comes down to us in that way, not by somebody who so-called scholar and will make some kind of claim that Bhagavad Gita, as we're reading it here, is not complete. All right, you be happy and read your Bhagavad Gita, but It's just another misconception. We're hearing the commentaries of Srila Prabhupada. He translated Bhagavad Gita principally based on Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary of Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, his commentary is almost entirely based on the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Both Bhagavad Gitas were presented, the commentaries of Vishwanath and the commentary of Baladev Vidyabhushan were presented by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He gave both translations. So I repeated tonight verses 67 through 78, although I read them last time, but the audio and even the video, the connection wasn't good. So I left that up on Facebook and on YouTube, the previous commentary, the previous explanation where I said the video was not so perfect, was not very good because of a connection. But today I'm trying to reread that, and today we're finishing the Bhagavad Gita. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranaman Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Janardan Shiva Sari Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Kori Jao Aite Vignana Shabishta Puran Echai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Kansabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Kader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame More Abhilas Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Tadiya Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sananta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ragana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Ragana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Vishvavarenya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Dham Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Man Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Kuladvip Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan. Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Sripad Bhakti Bandhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.